I'm live on Instagram, baby.
Jeez.
I even got a little notification saying Kevin Petersen is live on Instagram.
Well, that must be important then.
Well, Jay, we're doing good work here.
How can I creep on you if I'm doing this with you? Like I'm used to creeping on your Instagram, so maybe I should go through Instagram just to creep on you.
I don't know, man. You're gonna have to figure that one out yourself. That's enough for me to wake up every morning and show up and do what I'm told.
Kevin Petersen, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing really well. Happy New Year, or not Happy New Year, Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays, I guess.
Happy holidays, happy everything. It's a wonderful day to be alive. Yeah, what else is there to say? Here we are broadcasting our message across to the world, and hopefully the world is interested in what the hell we have to say.
Oh, at least I'm interested. That's all I really care about. I'm a little selfish sometimes. So chronichope.us, that's to reach Kevin Petersen directly. He's got a Facebook page.
Yeah.
He's got
there too.
They're probably live on Kevin W. Petersen on Instagram, but if you're not, go creep him out. On. Got incredible videos, incredible knowledge. I call him the family whisperer. Kevin, how are you?
I'm well. I'm really well. Hey, my team did well last night. I couldn't be any happier. So hopefully we'll get some commentary today, some statements, some help me. It's that time of year, Jay.
Yeah. Can I do help me?
Sure, I'm always here for you.
So I'm just glad that you actually gave a darn about a bowl game. That's good. So
well, it was pretty important for us.
I saw Florida State. They're going to be down like 20 plus players. I mean,
yeah, 20 guys are like, we're bailing. We're not doing this.
I mean, well, Kevin never bails on me. So
never.
Anyway, let's go right into it. You got comments? Go live, whatever it is. I have a transgender son. He's struggled with several years of bullying in school and finding friends he can hang out with. He's 19 and his friends aren't the best influence. So there's some drug, probably misuse, abuse. How does AA accept LGBTQ transgender?
That's a great question. And let's be super clear to this question, because I'm really grateful for this question. But Jay and I do not speak for AA. AA does not have spokespeople. That's super important. I can tell you my experience with my friends that are part of the LGBTQA community and that are transgender. They're welcome. They have, but the most important, here's the thing about AA or any kind of 12-step environment. You have to find your group. You have to find your posse, your team that make you feel safe and make you feel comfortable. So that being said, how would I help this 19-year-old? Two things. I don't know where they live. They may not live where there's a great community for them to access. So then I would have them access it online. And there are lots of resources for folks like this in recovery online. And you can definitely, if you go to the main AA website, or even, pardon me, there's a great app called The Chair that it shows you where all the meetings are, anywhere you want, but you can punch in there, what the specifics are: men, women, gay, straight, whatever. And there's no straight men. We don't do that. But, they're available. You might have to look a little harder than Jay and Kevin will have to look, but I want to tell you, at every meeting I go to, there are members of the community, and they are fully welcomed and fully engaged. And if they're not, I don't go to those meetings. In that sense, it's a little bit like church, and that if I wouldn't go to a church that wasn't, embracing and loving and ally to the community, to all communities. Because as we say in AA, We are ever inclusive, never exclusive. We don't do the "you don't belong here" thing. And if you get that feedback from a meeting, you need to walk away and never go back. And then definitely go online, and you can just Google that transgender meetings, transgender support, transgender recovery. And there's a ton. Like where I used to live in Denver, there was actually a specific space. There were a couple of different. There was Rainbow Alley. There was the center. I mean, I knew exactly who to talk to and where to go. And I would tell this family, if they're struggling with that, you email me and I can give you a person, an actual person to talk to about this in the community. And I don't know where you live, but the answer is yes. A big yes. We have big, wide open arms. We love everybody.
Awesome. I think you're right in saying that we're definitely not a speaker for AI. Please don't, because I'll misspeak, spoke whatever numerous times. But I think this is, I mean, you have some meetings that I just think that don't handle the newcomer very well. There's some, meetings that there's men's groups and women's groups and speaker meeting. I mean, it's, I think what Kevin's saying, like there's, I've been through meetings where I did not appreciate certain things, and that's whatever it is, right, wrong, or indifferent. I just don't go back to those meetings. The lucky thing is there's numerous, and with the invention of online portal, especially with the COVID protocols. I mean, online Zoom meetings, and you can go anywhere. You can go to I could sit in Dallas and join a meeting in San Francisco, California, or Australia. I spoke, gave my experience, strength, and hope to a group in Australia, of all places. So you can sit here in Dallas, and so there's a fellowship wherever you feel welcome, whether it's in real life or online, whatever it is. Find a group that you're really comfortable with, and I'm proud. The meetings I've gone to, I think welcoming to anyone. We've had some men's groups and where females have walked in and said like, "Oh, I didn't know this was a men's meeting. I really need a meeting." It's like we're not going to be like, "Get out." Welcome, sit down. Just an AA meeting. So if you need a meeting and you don't feel welcome, go to another meeting. So
yeah, that's the reality. And don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah. And much like we're not speakers of AA, that particular group is not a speaker of AA or anything like that, or the fellowship. So one bad meeting or one meeting that you don't feel welcome does not mean that every meeting is going to be like that. So
no. And I mean, hell, I've been to meetings where I'm like, this sucks.
My husband has been trying to get sober for a couple of years now. He went to treatment for 60 days. A couple of years back, has gotten involved in the AA group, has a sponsor, yet depression sets in. He drinks for a night, and the cycle kind of continues and so forth. This is fascinating to me because I can relate to it, and there's also a really good. My go-to is Tom B does a talk on emotional sobriety. So I'm interested in hearing. Because depression, it becomes real. Like not all your issues go away once you push away from drugs and alcohol.
So great. This has got two freaking spectacular, fantastic questions. Here's the thing, and Jay and I see this all the time. When you remove the drugs and the alcohol from somebody, and let's be clear, we're talking, let's just say that we're talking about somebody that truly is an addict or truly is an alcoholic. You're taking away their medicine. And AA is great. I've been going for 32 years. I'll go till the day I croak. But it's designed to do two things: get you sober, keep you sober, and behave like an adult. It is not designed to address your mental health issues or your childhood trauma or your relations. It's not designed for any of those things. And that's how it works. So my position is, and I fully believe that every single person that comes into AA should be handed a sponsor and a big book and a therapist. So if your husband is struggling with depression, I think he should see a therapist, and I think he should see a psychiatrist. and because that's their job. Now, I'm not advocating to dope them up. Quite the opposite. I think at the very least, you should start seeing a therapist and start having this conversation. Hey, I get sober for 60 days, 90 days. All my emotions come forward and I fall. I need help on that emotional side. AA is doing its job. But when my emotions get too big, I struggle. That's normal, by the way. We see this all the time with people that are new to the program, where their trauma comes up or their depression comes up or their anxiety comes up and they go back to their medicine. So, and I would love to be able to say, well, you need to write more inventory. You need to go to more meetings. Well, that may be the case, but that's not the universal solvent. That's not someone truly struggles with emotional and mental health issues. They need more than that. And so I'm a huge advocate of saying, great, let's get you a therapist that understands addiction, understands recovery, and see how that works. And then maybe the next step. The other thing is, if your husband's going to treatment for 60 days, I would suggest that when he comes home, he enrolls in an IOP program. I don't think 60 days is the magic pill. It's going to make everything all better. I think him continuing on a step down for, 3 or 4 nights a week for 2 or 3 hours a night, it sounds to me like that's what he needs, more than just a couple of AA meetings. And I'm sure his sponsor's great. I'm sure he's going to great meetings. But it sounds like when I hear this, what I hear is he needs more service. He needs more support. So let's get him that support. End of sermon.
So he went to 60 days, I think, a couple of years ago. I think the email said. But do you suggest kind of going to an IOP, intensive outpatient, or OP services? Like, it's been a little while. We don't know the whole story. I mean, sending him back to treatment out. I'm not a big fan of, like, he drank for a day, send him back to treatment. A lot of people do that. So no. It may benefit to go into looking at an IOP, is what you're kind of saying, even if it's been a couple of years since he's been to treatment.
Yeah, I mean, if this is his rhythm where he can stay sober for a certain amount of time, and then stuff comes up. What that tells me is that the stuff that's coming up is the mental health and emotional health. And so I would like him to get more help. I think AA is great, and I think his sponsor is great, and I think it's doing its job, and I'm talking from personal experience. I see a therapist, and I've seen one for the majority of my time sober. Because what happens is when you take away the drugs and the alcohol, stuff comes up. And you and I both know that's not your job as a sponsor in AA to solve somebody's emotional and mental health issues. And it's irresponsible of a sponsor to think they can. And it's also too much, and so that's why I advocate that people, go get some help. And I want to be clear, when I say go get some help, I don't mean go to your general practitioner and ask for Valium. That's not what I'm saying. I want you to go to therapy first and see how that works, so you can learn some coping skills and how to work through it, not just get magic pills.
Yeah, I think therapy, my first, 10 years of sobriety, I was a therapist regularly. And then now I cheat the system because I hang out with Kevin W. Peterson's and all kinds of therapists.
Justin, yeah.
I don't realize it. It's shocking. I'll tell you, this is Kevin's real deal. I can tell you about half measures and like how to cheat the system. Ask a therapist to lunch and just be like, oh, nothing, and then start laying your problem. They can't turn it off, most people. So you know what? God bless them. Befriend a couple of therapists and then invite them to lunch. This is the Jay Staples way. I guess I'm going to get caught now because I'm putting it out in public air. I've been keeping it a secret far too long. But that's the last couple of years. And I will say, like, when crap hit, and when what they say, pants are on fire, I go back to my therapist who's known me, did a family program back in my long-term place treatment. So I still have her on, my half measures way, invite a therapist to lunch and then lay out all your problems. They can't turn it off.
Oh, people do that to me all the time.
I've done it numerous times. I don't think you've realized it. But our daughters, I just work these into some of these questions. It's really sometimes just me that you're trying to Our daughter is 34 years old and struggles mightily with drugs and alcohol. Her self-hate is the primary reason for substance abuse in the parent's opinion. I can relate to self-hate.
Yeah.
How do you build up her self-esteem? Show her she's got talents. Show, it's basically talking about self-hate, which is another prime example of recovery and substance abuse. Like, I know I've dealt with it, still do. My sponsor always told me, like, you know what, I'm sick and tired of you diminishing a compliment. Like, when someone says something nice to you, you always come back and say, like, well, it's no big deal. Like, I remember, I think it was 4 or 5 years sober. He's like, you know what, if you're not going to take a compliment, stop showing up to people. Like, let them appreciate your talents and assets. So it's always run true with me. And I think in AA and in recovery, self-hate is prevalent.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of things. One, your daughter might be an addict or an alcoholic, so the self-hate is not the primary reason for her substance abuse. I really want to talk about that, because that's kind of a misconception that a lot of people have, especially in the therapy industry. Sure, I get it. She struggles with emotional issues, and so she self-medicates. I get that. That makes perfect sense. But there's some of the people that do that, there's a percentage of that population that can't pull out of the self-medication. And those people we call addicts and alcoholics. So I want to be clear that your daughter, it sounds like, is an addict or an alcoholic, or both. Now, part of her disease is her self-hatred or self-loathing and this shit that spins in her head. And I get this conversation all the time, and this is the most important thing to understand. We cannot get to the emotional and mental health issues until we eliminate the drugs and the alcohol. That's the most clear answer I can give you to the conversation, to the question. So what does that mean? That means she needs to go to treatment, probably for 60 or 90 days of treatment. And I know all the arguments. Oh, no, you don't understand. Here's my response. No, you don't understand. This is only going to get worse. So I'd rather she plugged in for 60 or 90 days up front and got the pattern set. It's like you got to go to the gym for 90 days to really set it in and get this thing laid in, where she's going to learn about sobriety, and she's going to learn about mental health, and she's going to learn about self-care and get all those things on board. And then after that, we're going to step down into the PHP, IOP world, partial hospitalization, intensive outpatient, and then outpatient. And she's always going to be addressing all of those issues completely. I get it. And by the way, I get a lot of this myself too. This self-loathing, self-hatred, self-doubt. I suck. This is never going to work. I don't know why I'm doing this. But here's the thing. And I get this all the time from families. Well, they really don't have a substance abuse problem. What they have is a mental health problem. I'm like, okay, but we can't get to the mental health problem until we eliminate the substance abuse problem. So let's be straight with each other. Let's go after that first and get rid of that first. And then we can cycle back in and go after the other stuff. And so that's really the answer to the question. And I know it's kind of a long worded way of going about it, but that's the answer to the question.
Well, I think it's like the only thing I think of is kind of the chicken or the egg. I mean, it's like, what comes first? Like, obviously, you talked about, drugs and alcohol being people's medicines. Like, it's also their solution. And so for anyone, let's just call it, if Jay's wrapped up in self-hate and the solution is always to reach for drugs and alcohol, which is obvious for many, many years, was like, there's no way that I was able to, I've tried every which way, read every book, watched every video. There's no way that if the solution's right there within arm's length or a phone call away, that I'm not going to turn back to that solution every single time, delaying the inevitable, like adding to the self-hate. So yeah. I think you're agreeing, like, go to treatment, get that under wraps, get separation, and then within that time frame, and when you leave treatment, you can work on that self-hate and tools, so you're not going back to the old solution, is what I'm hearing you say.
We can't treat the mental health issues until we eliminate the substance abuse issues. You can't treat someone's mental health while they're actively using substances. It doesn't work. So that's really the answer. And then the answer is that it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time, and you got to dig in. So.
Plus, we're in the holidays, and I mean, this is also, 3 tremendous questions this week. Keep them coming. DM me, email, whatever. If you want to write in, if you're watching replay of it, write in the comments. If you want to remain anonymous, then just send me a direct message or an email or chronichope.us, whatever. If you got questions, if you want explanations to what Kevin says, like, I'm sure he's more than happy to explain further. Reach out, chronichope.us, and then, or you can reach out to me and I'll pass on the message. But, there's this, this is what we do every week. We answer these questions. There's no dumb answers and there's no dumb questions. Maybe dumb answers when it comes to me, but Kevin normally keeps it really good. But we did. There's got to. I noticed like this theme. We had 3 questions this week, and there's kind of a theme. It was kind of different steps about finding comfortable within the AA group, and then working on some depression, some psych issues, and then you had the self-hate, which is like like tumbles into numbered. So I didn't realize it, but I think all 3 kind of had like they're all could be kind of combined.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, they were great questions, and they're questions that you and I get all the time, in the work that we do, and I think it's great for other people to be like, oh yeah, no, that's because come on, the whole substance abuse, mental health thing, that's a daily discussion, just a daily discussion where people are like, well, because it's really not cool to have a substance abuse problem. But it's okay to have mental health issues. And it's like, right, I get it, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. I agree. Let's just treat it. Let's get it. And then being the LGBTQ. I always miss something.
LGBTQ, yeah. I think there's another one there too, but
ally community is so important. It's so important because substance abuse and mental health issues are so rampant in that territory as well. And understanding the bullying, I totally get it. It makes perfect sense. So these were great questions. And the husband that struggles, these are all great questions. And this is exactly what we want to do. We want to help the families help their loved ones.
So let me ask you a personal question. Is it when you walk into an AA meeting, you're going in as long-term member of AA, Kevin P. Is it tough to turn off the clinicians?
Well, that's a good question. I think I try my best to be Kevin, the member of AA. There was a meeting a couple months ago where somehow it got onto the subject of ADD and ADHD and I was like, a bunch of people that know nothing about it clinically diagnosing and talking, and I was with my wife and she was like, you all right? I'm like, yeah, it's whatever. I just sat back and I'm like, cool, you're completely wrong about everything you're saying, but I'm just going to sit here and I didn't want to turn it into a lecture, like, let me explain, but it's an opportunity to practice patience, love, and tolerance, and kindness, and empathy, and hey, at least people are talking about it,
Yeah.
So, well,
we do this every week. We haven't decided exactly on a day and time for next year, but we will we'll hammer that out, and it's probably going to be maybe during the day. We're going to try, I think, maybe during the day a little more, but who knows? But keep the questions coming. We do this every week, and we'll start putting on announcements and when the new Family Matters day and time will be. But otherwise, just keep watching the replays if you missed us live. So see you, Kevin.
All right, brother. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.